Hi there. So let's create our first animation using opentoonz. So the first thing we want to do is to open up opentoonz. I'll just double click on that. And if you don't have opentoonz installed, just go to the internet, open your browser, and then search for opentoonz. And you should have opentoonz installed. So it's going to take a few seconds to open up. Now I'm using a white theme, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But first, we need to create a project. So next, what we're going to do is to hit this new project icon here, and we'll give the project a name. So we'll just call this first underscore anim for short, for first animation, and we'll hit OK. So now that we've created a new project, we need to create a scene. And it makes sense because in your animation project, you might have multiple scenes. So let's create a scene by clicking on this new scene icon. And let's just call that start 01. This is going to be our start scene. And I'll leave everything by default and hit create scene. So now we have a basic scene. We can go ahead and start drawing with the drawing tools by clicking on this paintbrush icon right here. And we could just draw any shape. I'll quickly undo that. I mentioned I was going to show you how you can change the theme if you're interested. So let's go to File and go to Preferences, or you can hit the keyboard shortcut Ctrl U. And over here on the interface, I'm using the light theme, but I've switched to the dark theme icons because it makes it much more visible. If you just switch on the light theme, you might not be able to see your dark icons, and you might need to restart opentoonz. So how do we start drawing over here? The first thing we want to do is to create our layers. They are called levels, and there's a vector and a raster level. I like using raster levels for practice, but ideally you might want to use vector levels because you're going to keep your lines crisp and smooth. Enough talking. There are two ways you can do this. Where I have my mouse right now, it's hovering. At the center here, we can see we have a raster level, and sometimes it brings a tooltip pop-up to show you where you are. And I'll click new raster level. It's going to ask me for a name, and I'll just call this our sketch because this is where I want to keep all the sketches. And it's asking us for the resolution. You can bump this up if you want high quality resolution, but I'll just leave it like that because I'm recording and I don't want Camtasia to take all the memory. So I'll hit OK. So now you can actually see over here we have a level name and what we call sketch. And we might not actually clearly see this right now, but opentoonz is calling this a column. We're not really bothered about that for now. If we jump over to the X sheet at the top, I'll just click on X sheet. You can see we have our drawing here called sketch, and it's all placed in a column. I'll go back to drawing just to have a simple mode right here. So this is our sketch layer. We need to create the main layer we're going to use to start our animations. To do that, I'll go ahead and click on a raster level again, and I'm going to call this drawing, and the format is PNG. Notice we can change formats, and I'll hit OK. So now what this is going to do is to create a second layer on top. The first one is called sketch, which is at the bottom. The next one on top is called drawing, and we could just for fun we can create another one and call this effects, like that. Good. So now that we're on these three columns, you can have our sketch at the bottom, and I'll just go to the X sheet because it's easier to see the names of our levels we created. We have a sketch, drawing, and effect. What I like doing is to just do a rough out of what I want to do on the sketch layer. So make sure you click on the sketch layer, it's highlighted, and right here I'll just turn off these two layers. I can leave them on because we don't have any drawing on them, but make sure you're on the columns layer, and I'll hit the brush. We have a choice to select a multiple of brushes, and we can increase our brush size. Here on the raster, I'll go ahead and click raster because I'm on the raster level. You can see this list of brushes. I love using the chalk brush, but we have other brushes like the sketch brush. So I'll click on the sketch brush, make sure I'm on the sketch layer, and I'll just start having a feel of it. and the size is on -1.92, so I'll just bump that up a little bit and then try drawing again. I'll just bump up the size again and then try drawing. So you can see this is a basic sketch brush. I'll just undo everything I just did right now. I'll head over to the sketch 2 brush, and you can see we have another brush. I'll go to the ink pen. Again, we can bump up the size, and it's using my Wacom's pressure sensitivity. All that's great. I'll undo all that. One of the great brushes I love using is the chalk, because I like the particles it creates. It's quite large right now because it's holding the last memory size. It's holding the size in memory, so I'll set this to something about here, and I think that's totally fine. So I'm using negative 0.45 in case you want to follow along. So first, let's create a basic animation, and this is going to be our first animation for our sketch layer. So make sure you're on the sketch layer, and I'll draw a nice little horizontal line. Now, if you're not getting this, you can just undo using Ctrl Z and just draw a base like that. I think that's a really nice line to indicate a ground layer. And what we want to do is just show some basic perspective lines. You don't really need to do this, but I just like, putting this just to indicate this is some sort of floor here. And we have these lines just converging over there. If you want it to be more accurate, I'll just undo everything and show you. If you want it to be more accurate, you can hold Shift. I'm holding Shift, and I'll just click and drag. You can see a nice little straight line, and we'll just release that, and we have a nice little line. Notice it's slightly faded to show a nice gradation between how my pressure sensitivity is. If I go ahead and hold Shift again and draw that line and release it, we can actually see it's a bit darker towards the end. And I'll draw a vertical line as well. So I'll hold Shift just to have a straight line. I'll just drag this and release somewhere around here, just as a basic guide. So now what I also want to do is to show you a nice little trick. If we wanted to hold this ground level, and I want to erase this section here, so I'll jump to the eraser, and I'll just clean up this line like that, just to have something clear here. Nice, that's totally awesome. So we have a drawing here, right? We have our background, we have our guide. And once we start animating, we're going to jump to another frame and then start creating our animations on another frame. So this is our sketch layer. I'm going to jump to the first drawing layer, and I'll just draw a circular ball right here. Doesn't have to be perfect, just a little ball like that. Now I noticed I'm going to be having some slight variation, so I'll go back to our base layer here, and I'll draw two guides by the side to limit the width of my ball, because I don't want my ball to be, kind of like super weird when we're drawing. So I'll go over here, and I could just eyeball it, right? We could just wing it and just create a nice little sketch. But since we used our little shift trick, I'll just do the same thing again. So I'll just drag Shift and drag it here, release, and I'll hold Shift from the bottom again, and I'll drag it up to the top and release. So here I have a sort of little guide on this layer. We can turn this off, and you can see this is our guide. So let's go to our second drawing level, which we called our drawing. So we are on our drawing level right now. So what I'm going to do is to draw a ball drop, a classic ball drop in 24 frames. So what I can do is to tell opentoonz what frames I want to use. If you look over here, I can click this section and drag right here. So I'll drag this to 24. It just tells me that's the range of the animation. And if I go to the X sheet, you can actually see I have the same thing here. So I can actually work on the X sheet section and put this on 24. But normally people feel more comfortable using a horizontal sheet rather than a vertical one, which is actually great. So I have from 0 to 24. So what I'm going to do is to go to, I'm on that sketch, because you can see it's yellow right here. We can change this color to something much more visual, but I don't want to do that. I want us to just focus on drawing our ball. So I'll just go over here, I'm on my favorite brush, and I'll just draw a nice little circle like that. And now this is our first frame. So on our last frame, I know that the ball is going to be at the last point, which is at the bottom, and then at the middle, our ball is going to be at the center. So my starting frame is 1. My end frame is, let's take this to 25. So I'll drag this, make sure I'm on this, and I'll go to 25 and just click on 25 here. But something happens. I can no longer see my background drawing, and I can no longer see the drawing I have on frame 1. How do we fix this? So let's start with the second problem where we cannot see our guide or sketch layer. So this is where you need to pay close attention because you might actually miss this step. So go back to the column layer, just click on the sketch layer, or go to the X sheet, make sure you're on the sketch layer. Now on the sketch layer, you see where it says frame, click on this, click on sketch 1. You can see this white handle here. Click and drag this down to 25. What you're telling opentoonz is that you're holding this drawing for 25 frames. So basically that's your background, because you notice your background does not necessarily change, doesn't pan if you don't want it to. It's a fixed drawing. So if we go back here to our drawing and begin to move our frame, you notice our ball disappears, but our background remains because we're holding our background. So that's how you can hold a nice little background. You can do things on this background like, add a little note. We can say things like start. Right? You can add a little note here, and when you move around your ball, you can actually see, you have everything in one position. So that's one way to hold your background. So the next thing we're going to do is to just draw a little rough line here. And remember, I'm on the sketch layer, and I know I'm going to be starting here. This is going to be sort of like our halfway point. Here's our frame 1. And here, if we're using 24 frames, so 12 will be the midpoint. So by 12, I'll just put 12 here, and then the end is going to be 25. Now, our ball is going to start to ease out of this position, and then it's going to, bounce down and most likely go back up. But I just want to do a ball drop. So what we're going to do next is to move to the next frame. So I'll go to frame 2. So we can't see frame 1. The second problem is to see it. Go over here. You will see a nice little dot. Click on that dot. So once we're on frame 2, we're not drawing yet. So I'll just go back to this column, and we can click on this frame. Now you can actually see what we have here. So I'll just undo that. I'll click here. You can see we can't see anything. I'll move around. We can't see anything. So I'll go to frame 2 on our drawing, and I'll just click this. And now we can see our old drawing. So let's draw our second frame on 2. And what I want to do, okay, let's just go ahead. So we have our first 1, 2, like that. Let's go to 25 and click this line here. So you can see we can see our drawing here as an onion skin. So at 25, I'll just draw another nice little shape like that. I'll try to put it within the range and try to eyeball the size. This is great. It's not too bad. So now you can see if I drag this, we can't really see what's happening here. So I'll go to frame 12, and I'll make sure I deselect this one. So I'll go over here and deselect. So let's go to our frame 12. We have that drawing. So if I wanted to see what's on 25, I'll just click this, and here I'll click this. So you can see in between. So in between these two drawings, I'm going to draw the midpoint. So this is going to be another ball here. You can see. So we can get rid of this and get rid of this, so we can't really see anything. So if you go back here, this is our first ball, midpoint, and that's extreme. So what just happened right now is that opentoonz automatically saved. You can set opentoonz to automatically save your work after 15 minutes. So I'll just go back to frame 1. On frame 2, I'll just turn on this and this. Basically, I want to see what's before the frame I am at and what's after. So before is left, after is right. Frame 2, and I'll draw another nice little ball falling down like that. So let's go to frame 3. So now we can see frame 2. So we're easing out gradually, and whenever something is easing out, it means it's not really speeding out of that position here. So I'll go to 5. I'll just draw another one here, and remember it's at frame 12. We have our midpoint, so we can just do something like this, and we can see our midpoint like so. So now we're on frame 6. I'll just draw this, and now I'll say 7. So the ball has begun to speed up. So 8, like that, 9, like that, 10, like that, 11, it's almost there, and 12. So we've already drawn our midpoint. So this is 13, so it start going down now. 14. So this is 15. We'll just draw 15 here. So what we can do is to add, we can now see more of the latest frames, the frames behind. If I keep adding, so let's say we're on 15. So let's just add this, 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 and this. You can see, we can see all those frames behind, and if we want to see the frames in front, we'll add these points here just to see each frame that's in front here. So after 15 we can't see anything, so at 16 I'm going to draw this, and maybe we want to see the last one. So let's do this. Whoops, I think that should be 16. Now if you don't have any drawing, you'll actually notice the numbers won't be highlighted. So for instance, if I just do this on 16, there is a drawing on 16 because there's a checker mark. But I don't want to do a checker mark, I want to do a ball falling down. So let's just do 16 and go to 17. There's nothing here, so let's draw 17. So let's do 18. Let's do 19. So let's do 20. Let's do 21. Let's do 22. Okay, I notice I have a weird lopsided ball. 22. So now I believe we can even stop. Let's do 23, 24. We already have that here. So let's play our animation. We created an animation. We need to play our animation. To do that, let's hit play. And everything just happened so fast, and we have a wobbly ball. It's totally fine. I'll show you how you clean up actually. So I'll just put this on loop. So you can see we have a ball falling from top to bottom. It's not squashing, it's not stretching. This is not a squash and stretch exercise. It's just to show you how you can actually animate the ball. So that's great. We have a nice little loop here. And we can actually see how that's actually moving, which is actually Super nice. So if this is your first animation, give yourself a pat in the back. So let's do something else. How do we clean this up? I'll show you how you can do a nice little cleanup. So now that we have this, let's go to our layer here and let's look at our X sheet, because I like using the X sheet. Now we're on our effects section. I can click on the first frame of effects. Let's go back to drawing. So I'll just click this first frame, and what we can do is to insert shapes. So I'll click on this, click on this shape that has the square and circle, and go to line, go to circle, and just draw a nice little, so whoa, that's a lot. So now we've drawn that circle. Click the pencil tool. I'll just undo that. Let's go back to our brush tool. And let's try that one more time. Let's go to the shape and let's draw a circle like that. Now we can select the circle and we can transform the circle and place it in position. I'll delete that, do it again so we can all see how I did that. First, I clicked on the shape tool. I went and clicked on this drop down box, clicked on circle, drew a nice little circle like that from the center. Now that I have that circle, I use the select tool and I'll select this entire shape and position it. And once we've done that, I can hit Control C to copy. I'll go to frame 12. Right, I'll just go to 12 and I'll hit Control V to paste that on 12. Hit the select tool again and then move this down here. So I'll hit Control C to copy that. I'll go to frame 25 and I'll hit Control V. Then I'm already on the select tool, select that, drag this down and place it here. I can turn off our base like so, and if we play this, and we can leave our base on, turn off this, and if we play this now, so you can see we have one middle bottom, top middle bottom, top middle bottom, like that. So basically that's how you can just follow along and clean up your drawing. You don't need to redraw those frames. You can just keep drawing the shapes you need, and when you see it fit, you can actually use that to, you know, create a nice cleanup form of drawing. So let's go ahead and create a new scene and let's animate a bouncing ball. I don't want this to be too long, but I feel it's really nice to, you know, kind of like pause the video and practice so that you actually get a feel of how it's actually looking. I don't want this to be too long. Let me just check the time. It's 23 minutes already, but I think it's better to just record it in one go so you can always pause and, you know, kind of like walk with what you've learned. So next, what I'm going to do is to get rid of this layer and this one, and back on my base layer, I think I could just create another one, a new level. So I'll hide this one as well. So I'll create a new raster level. I'll call this BG2. So I'll background 2 and hit OK. And I will just get rid of all these onion skins. You could just click and hold and drag everything and it's all going to go away. So I'll go to my X sheet. I want to hold this new one. I didn't call this effects 1. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I called it BG2. So I'll go to BG2 and I want to hold. I need to draw first. So this is BG2. I'm here. Let's see. I just want to right click this and cut this column over here and paste this above. So I wanted it to be at the top, so we can cut a column and we can paste the column, and we can actually see here effects 1. So I'll just use this one at the top. Alright, so let's draw a quick background for this. I'll just call this BG3. So I'll create some nice little ground for this guy. Just try to draw a smooth little line. I think that's okay. So what we want to do is to bounce a ball from the top. It'll go down here. We have another arc, and we'll have a third one that's smaller. So 3 arcs, 1, 2, 3. I think this peak should be a bit higher because this peak is low, so I want it to be around here. Let's just undo that and do something better. So we'll start from here and say we bounce here, then bounce again, because these are just guides. It's telling us where our ball needs to be. So we'll start the ball drop from here, and the ball will begin to go on its course, and then it will start to speed up. And as it's speeding up, it's beginning to elongate, right? Another elongation here. Once it reaches the ground, it squashes, begins to bounce back up. It's going up, gaining momentum and coming almost back to its shape. Then we have another peak here. So at this peak point, I might even want these balls to overlap. And then we're going back again. We have a little elongation here just to add to that effect. So we have another squash here. Then over here we have our overlaps for our ball. Then we can finally have our ball fall down right here. And then we'll have a nice slowdown. So these are just guides, and if we begin to move, we won't see anything. So what I'm going to do is just go here, so this is the one we are on. It's called BG3. So I'll just click on this and drag this and hold it down to 25. So that if I get back here, if we begin to drag this, you can see we have everything holding, and we could just create a new level on top. So this is a level that's going to be above our drawing, and we can start doing the animation where we draw everything on each frame. So let's begin. So for frame 1, I'll just draw this nice little circle, go to 2, and I want to see what's on 1, so I'll click on this. So we'll just draw this one. If I say I'm going to draw everything on each frame, how many drawings do we have per frame if we're actually going to draw on ones? Because you can actually see these are more than 25. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So roughly about that same amount. So let's go to 3. So I'll just quickly drop these in so that you can actually see where that's going. So I'll just draw this one here in frame 6. So on frame 7, I can just add one here. 8, we're down. On 9, we're going out like that. 10, going another one. 11, we're back here, so 12, 1, 13, another 1, 14. So I think opentoonz is trying to either autosave or auto crash. So good, hopefully it's the good news. So we don't have a drawing here yet because we see this box is empty. So let's draw this. 15, and it's no problem if we run out of frames. All we need to do is just extend this and extend our hold. So we'll go to 17, and you can actually see how easy this is. You can use the arrow keys to move to another frame. So you can just put your other hand to work. So this is down here, and then we're going out of here. So you can see how that background really helps. You can do things like take notes, are good. So you can see what's happening right now. So what we need to do is to extend our frames. I'll just drag this to 40. And on the X sheet, I'll do the same. So on our BG tree, make sure I'm on BG tree, and oops, not there, here. I'll just make sure we extend this to 40. Like that. So we extended this to 40. So let's go back to our drawing. If we drag this, we're still holding till we are at 40. And we might even want to put 2 onion skins to the right. So we are on 25. So let's see if we can do something to be, let's see here. So we can drag the opacity so that it's not too distracting. Alright, so we've set the opacity down a bit so it can actually just act like a guide. And you can see we can scrub so we can see where we're at. So we're at 25 and 26. Let's go to 26. So we're at 26, so let's draw this. Let's go to 27. I'm just drawing on ones. That means I have a drawing on each frame. Now it's not really the most efficient way to do this, but I'm just drawing on ones. And I'll draw this, another overlap. And this is going to be wobbly because you see it's actually larger than, let me just undo that. So one way is to get rid of wobbly drawings is to make sure that you have a consistent size. That's why we have the drawing tools and guides like the shapes, like that. So let's add a little more where the ball is slowly trying to stop. 26. You can see they are really close to each other. Once you draw any object that's close to each other for the timing, it means the action is very slow. Not 40. I will just put it on 39, I guess. So we could just clip this to 39 and you can see what we have here. Let's play this. I think it's a boink, boink, brr, boink, boink, brr, boink, boink, brr. So what we can do is to add a little kind of like effect when this lands here. So at 8, the ball is down here, and then at, let's say this. So let's just go with layer underneath this one, and let's drag this. So that's 8. So on 8, let's just do a little like that. See, boink. And it's actually holding that. So I think it's best, let's draw that on our main layer. So let's go here. So 8, we'll just do a little, yep. Yeah, and then at 20, just to indicate nice little thud. And then at, I believe at 29, we can even just indicate a little bit of that. And you can see we just have that right here. So let's play the animation. Now I notice is something weird happening here, because let's see what if we add the, I think it's fine. So let's see if we extend this to say frame 41. Now everything is wobbly because we need to indicate here. If I just go down here and click the bottom, just drag this to 41. And let's play the animation and see how it looks. It's actually blitting. Actually, you can see that little blip. So we hold it back to say 40. So the blip is actually larger. So yeah, so it's actually smoother and seamless when we set the animation to frames that are slightly off. So at, let's try this here. So I had 2 empty frames just to make it a bit seamless. So that's how you can create a basic animation using opentoonz. Don't forget to save. Now I promise I'm going to show you some basic things in the preferences. So let's just quickly take a look at that. So if we drag this over here, remember you can click, you can add as much as you want, like that. So let's see how we can play with that setting. So go to File, Preferences, or use Control U. So here's our preferences, and this is where you can do things. You can change a lot of things: visualization, your loading, and saving. So you can see I have mine checked to save automatically every 15 minutes. It really helps. Sometimes you forget when you're being creative, and you forget to save your project, and you lose everything, and it's really a pain in the neck when that happens. So again, you can switch your interface, go to your drawing tools, change your drawing tools, your current column color. I might want to set this to something super reddish kind of. So each time I'm on column, you can actually see it update here. So I'm on column 5 and you can see that's red. It just helps me see it clearly. Or you can use any other color you want. This is on blue. You can use a green, alien green. I'll just leave it on this bright saturated red, and I think that helps. So you can also change the colors for the onion skin. It's usually red and green. I like using red and blue. So you can put it back to green or whatever color you want to put this. I'll just put it back to the default, so we are all on the same page. And that's it. That's how you can create basic animations, and hopefully we will learn how to animate using opentoonz. Thank you for watching. I wanted to show you how to export, but I'll just leave it at that. Basically, how you can export this and share it with the world. But we'll just do that on a later video. But it's super straight up to do that. So, but you know what? Hold on, before we go, I'll show you how you can just render this super clean. Now, if you don't want some layers to show, you can turn off what you don't want to render. So to render, just go to the render at the top you can see fast render to MP4, or you can just do Alt R, and this will actually render your work and put it. So the path where mine is on the desktop, and it's going to render the entire frames. So I have from frame 1 to frame 42, and once that's done, I'll just go to my desktop, and okay, it's over here. It's called start.mp4, and you can actually see it's rendering our entire frame. So you can always clean up everything, and then it's going to play for just 1 second, and that's your so you can put this on your portfolio, tell people, hey, I know how to animate, check it out, check out my animation. So you can actually see it, you know, happening down there. There are other special render options. I'll just go back in here. So if you wanted to render with some options, you can go to the output settings, and here you can set some things like basically from frame what to what am I rendering, right? You can change it there. Your DPI, you can change it there. So color, file, mode, all these complex stuff. You know, you can see more information about the frame rate, stretching, the camera shifting, and then the outputs, all that information. You can always change that from here. Right, so render, preview, so you can always preview and see how that's going to look like when it's rendered. So it's actually telling me that this is what's going to come out. So I can always close this and say, hey, you know what, I want to turn this off. All these columns, and then we can go to render and see preview, and now you can see what's going to render. So we have that ball still showing. So let's go and check out from our X sheet. So we have our drawing 1. Turn that off, and then go to render and click on the preview. And now if we render this, we are only going to render the background and the ball, which if we go to render and say fast render to MP4, we can just wait a few seconds and wait for that to load. So if it's taking this long for 1 second, by the time you have, you know, a longer animation, it's going to take a while for it to actually render. So you can actually see that's how we can do that. So finally, thank you for staying to the end. Hopefully it has shown you what you can do with opentoonz, how you can create your basic animations, how you can take notes, how you can hold your background drawings or your guide drawings, how you can use the onion skin feature, and how you can draw basic shapes and animate basic shapes. Animation is fun. Sometimes it can get tedious, but it's actually really funny and lovely when you have, you know, something on the screen. You can actually see what you've created. It's really fun. So all that hard work is going to pay off. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Finally. How do I stop this thing? Oh, there it is.